This is a really interesting one, and I want to tie it into the objections I've heard this week on that thread. I'd love to work with you, Jesse. I'm thinking of selling at some point in the next year. I am, but my wife, my husband, my son, my mom, my friend, my neighbor, my coworker happens to be a real estate agent, right? Then what do you do, right? So this is one of those objections that I love. I lovingly call the ones that if you can't answer effectively, you shouldn't have a license, right? Because exactly, because everyone knows a real estate agent.
Welcome. We are going deep. Those of you who are attending in webinar format, give us a minute to go live on Facebook. If you're watching this recording later on, you're going to get good stuff today. So we'll be diving in just a minute once we are live on Facebook. Those of you who are attendees, get excited. We're going deep today in the world of objection handling and circle dialing, all sorts of good stuff. I see everyone's logging in here. Gus, you ready for this?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the talk today.
We are live.
Yeah, let us know where you're joining from. Well, I always love to see those. I get a kick out of that.
Yeah, we are live, guys. So we're going to go deep into objection handling for circle prospecting. And what does that mean? If you don't know what any of those terms mean, it means we're going to teach you how to take more listings. Okay.
Basically, exactly what it means, Jess.
All right. So now that we got their attention, Gus, let me introduce you to our guest for the day. Let's find out where everyone is in the chat box. People are already typing it in. I see we've got some people from Ventura, from San Diego. So wherever you are, if you're live with us on Zoom, please type it in the chat box. We do have a Q&A section that any questions you have as we roll through this, we want to hear your real questions. We want to hear you engaged because we have an expert here. His name is Gus Muñoz Castro. He is the owner of PowerISA. They have over 100 ISAs that are actually out there doing prospecting with potential buyers and sellers, getting business for their clients. And so he has become an expert over hundreds of thousands of calls his team has done, and he's trained his team. So we're niching down into the world today of circle prospecting. And let's just start at a really high level, Gus. Most people watching probably know what circle prospecting is, but just in case they don't, exactly. What is circle prospecting and how does that relate to taking more listings?
Yeah, I love it. And that's a great one. And you know what? We should talk about that, Jesse, because they might know what circle prospecting is, or they might have an outdated, thought of kind of what circle prospecting is, right? So when we talk about circle prospecting, we're talking about cold calling, like drawing a pin on the map and cold calling typically around a listing you got, right? That's where it came from. Circle prospecting, you drop a pin, you draw a circle around a listing you just took, recently sold, recently just listed a property, and you call around it telling people the good news, right? You just listed that property, or guess what? Multiple offers, X number of dollars above over asking, you just sold that property. That's normally what folks talk about when they mention circle prospecting. I think nowadays, I wish we had more listings out there, right? Or they lasted longer, Jesse, because you might even get a chance to do that. So nowadays, I consider circle prospecting that pin you're dropping doesn't have to be a listing. That can be somebody else's listing from last week that went pending, in 5 minutes, right? And that there were 18 offers that lost out because it was one of yours, maybe, right? So you're still dropping that pin and saying, me and another 17 buyers are very disappointed. We'd love to move in this neighborhood. Who do you know that might be thinking of selling, right? So I go one step ahead and go, any pin you drop anywhere and you draw a circle around it and you're looking for those listings, that's circle prospecting because you have a buyer that wants to move in, because you know the neighborhood is really hot. You know that there's great opportunities there. You know it's the best school district in the county. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, right? You're going out there and you're cold calling, trying to generate business. You're tapping that unmet database, call it that way, which is 99% of people in the universe are your unmet database. That is the biggest opportunity you have. It is cold calling. You either love it or hate it. If you're on this call, you probably are at least neutral to cold calling. It is still one of the most efficient ways to make contact with folks, have a two-way conversation with anyone you don't know. It's still one of the most efficient ways to do it. And this is me, I'm telling you this, I'm a 3-time graduate of the BOLD course. And if any former KW folks in the room, I took BOLD 3 times and I would absolutely murder that course because I was really comfortable cold calling. I would grab my Mojo dialer. If people ever took that training, there was a thing called the Bold 100, where you make 100 contacts in a day. That was 3 hours of my time. I'd sit down and just knock it out. And then once I got like 3 or 4 in a row, I stopped telling them. I don't think they're going to believe me if I actually do this. And I don't think they're going to believe it's that easy. But it actually was that easy for me. Just picking up a 3-line dialer and going to town, circle prospecting. That was always my favorite type of cold calling. Always. It wasn't expired. It wasn't for sale by owners. It wasn't any of that. It was always circle prospecting, because for me, it was the easiest thing to do. For me personally, I just thought it was a very smooth, a really great way. And I'm just naturally chatty and I'm curious. I like talking to people. So you should always approach these calls with a little bit of curiosity, right? Because it is a true cold call, circle prospect. It isn't an angry expired owner. It isn't an angry FISBO owner you're talking to. You kind of have to be a little bit on edge. You never know where it's going to take you. So you should always approach it with a little bit of curiosity. And it always lent itself to my personality. So I love circle prospecting. I love it. I wish everyone tried it. I wish it worked. Here's another thing. I did another video a few weeks ago about the truth about circle prospecting. You should check it out. But that one tells the story of it doesn't work as well as it did 5 or 6 years ago. That's another reality of it, right? We're in this is the market of the now, 2022. I wish the pickup rates, the contact rates were what they were in 2015, 2016, or even the summer of 2020, when everyone was under lockdown, all they could do was answer the phone all day, right? So it's more challenging now than it was in the past. But that only means you got to make the most of those conversations you can get, right? That you got to be prepared. You got to be prepared. And for me, I did this poll, Jesse. I don't even saw us in the group, LabCoatAgents. I did it this week on purpose, totally on purpose. Do you guys use scripts? Yes or no? And then why? I asked that question. It's a grenade, right? Like it was, you could see kind of the pieces afterwards. And it was about pretty evenly split on people that do scripting and like scripting and support scripting, and like it's a political candidate, right? I support scripting. And the folks that said, no, I don't like scripting. It doesn't work for me. It's not effective, all these things. So it was kind of evenly split, right? And I started that conversation because I was setting up this talk. I said, let's see what people think about scripting. Because a lot of folks think that, oh, you know what? I don't want to sound scripted. I don't want to sound inauthentic. I don't want to sound like a salesperson, like someone's being sold to. We're in 2022. The consumers are as sophisticated as they've ever been in this country, right? These are 21st century. As the millennials enter the home buying space, they're even more savvy, more internet savvy. They like being sold to the least of any generation I've ever seen. It's really challenging sometimes. So I get why people really reject scripts. But my answer to a lot of those comments, and I actually went into it with a few people, respectfully, kindly, right? Tristan would approve of me talking, engaging with some folks that didn't like scripting. And the main reason was the inauthenticity, the fakeness, the sounding scripted, right? Sounding scripted. And I totally understand. I get it. In fact, I agree with it. If you are executing a script and people think you're reading it off a piece of paper, right? Behind the Zoom camera or on the phone, they can literally picture you reading it off of something. Then I agree, you do sound scripted. You sound poorly scripted, probably, right? Because I'm telling folks, think of it like a Hollywood movie, right? All of those are perfectly scripted down to you should read a Hollywood script one day, kind of see the level of detail that is described on that piece of paper.
Stuart turns his head left, blinks twice, looks right, like
this in the background, and the birds are chirping. Look at the screenplay. It's pretty awesome what they have to go down and put on paper. That is the level of scripting that is involved. But that's not what we see in most movies. Let me just say that. Most movies, that's not what you see, right? This isn't The Disaster Artist. Most movies, they look pretty darn natural. That is what you're looking for. That is not script. Doesn't sound scripted, right? It doesn't sound inauthentic. The goal is to sound authentic. The goal, I don't even like that word. You have to sound like a professional. Professional salespeople use scripts because they want to come off as professionals, right? When someone asks you a certain question or they come up with an objection, you can be the most talented person in the world. I'm going to wing it. I know what to say. Every client's unique and I have to respond in a unique way. Okay, that's one way to do it. You're kind of rolling the dice there a little bit. That's fine. But if you're going to talk to consumer buyers and sellers of real estate, Folks, and I can tell you this, I have the authority actually to say this, but I've made, me and my team make about, a good day, we'll make about 50,000 calls in a day, one day, right? On a good day, we'll set 200 appointments in one day. So I can tell you a little bit about objection handling, kind of what consumers are saying day to day. Buyers or sellers of real estate essentially have the same 5 or 6 objections.
All right, let's hear them. So what are the top ones?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we're jumping to that. The reason I say that is because you don't have to become some kind of scripting master, Zen master, guru to be successful with this, because 90% of the job is actually about a 5 or 6 script, like roughly, right? Roughly. And I'm going to talk about the top objections from circle prospecting, but because of that conversation I had this week, Jesse, I added a few more to the list. Saying, okay, let's talk about the ones people, you should script in this market. Right. You need to have a script to answer these objections. I'll leave those 3 at the bottom. Right? I'll leave them at the end, but I think it's a real treat because not just circle prospecting is a very specific scenario. These other questions, in my opinion, these objections, you shouldn't have a license if you can't answer them in a professional way, because everyone's going to get them, especially in this market, right? So anyway, that's the setup, Jesse. That's the setup. That's the reason you should care about scripts. That's the reason you should be a pro, be prepared. And for me, one of the most important parts of scripting is this aspect of it, the objection handling. Because guys, no one's going to learn 3 paragraphs to call a circle prospecting lead, right? You just have to learn the intro to that script. And it usually goes something like this. Hey there, Jesse, my name's Gus, I'm eXp Realty, and I'm just calling around this neighborhood because, I've got too many buyers that want to buy a home. Too many buyers, not enough sellers, Jesse. I just want to ask you real quick. I want to do them a favor. I want to do right by them. Do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling in the next year? And I made that up right now because I think that's a real scenario right now, actually. So I modified a little bit, but I'm really just asking them. I need some help. Put yourself out there on that circle prospecting script. They're less likely to hang up on you, right? You don't want them to hang up on you. Say, hey, I really need your help, Jason. You're less likely to hang up on that call. Come on.
Absolutely.
And your help. I want to do right by these buyers. I am hustling, trying to find someone that might be thinking of selling. Is that you? Or anyone you know, Jason, anyone you know. They might be thinking of relocating, moving up something a little bit more comfortable, something smaller, another area, another state. You're working from home now. Have you ever thought of moving to Florida, Jesse? Come on, man. So whatever it starts that conversation, that's the intro. That's part you should learn and make it your own, of course, right? And then after that, you've got some questions you want to hit in the script always, right? But the important thing is how you react to those objections. That's the next scripted part you have to internalize. Because like I said, in circle prospect, there's only a handful of objections you're going to get. And they're very different from that expired, from that FSBO kind of a scenario. FSBO and expired are to say that in one term, is a veteran seller. They've tried selling. They've gone through the process. They know what the ins and outs and have really specific issues with the process. They're going to come up with some very different objections. Circle prospecting, they don't even know who you are. You don't even know if they own a home, right? You want to just find out from there and kind of start that dialogue. So the number one thing, this starts objection number 1, right? For circle prospecting is you have to deal with the automatic no. Objection number 1, right? Hey, this is, like I said, this is Gus. I'm trying to do right by my buyers. Do you know anyone that might be thinking of selling? No, I don't, right? That is I call almost the reflexive no. The likelihood that they even heard everything you said might be low, guys. This might be on a cell phone. They're busy. They're doing something else. They don't recognize the voice.
They're sorry they even picked up the phone.
Like, who is this guy? Why are you even talking to me? I'm offended that you dared call me. I don't know who you are. And they're going, all that's going through their mind. So they're just saying no. Like no. So you need to be prepared to handle that. Assume that's coming, right? That's almost part of your script. No, I totally understand, Jesse. Then you move on to the next question, and that's how you handle that first no. You handle it and you go to the next question. Jesse, just one quick question. Do you own or do you rent your home? And then they go, well, wait, what? Then you get them out of the cycle. You've busted through. Like, don't think, wait, what's going on? Do you own or do you rent your home? Okay, who are you again? Then you get a chance to actually get through to them, right? You're kind of interrupting the sequence. They go, okay, there's a real person on the other line. I've literally been the stake for a robocall on some of these prospecting. People are like, you're not a real person, are you? Well, yes, I am, sir. Oh, wait, hold on. So you want to like break, it's an interrupt. You want to break the cycle and say, do you own or do you rent a home? And then you might have to restate. So who are you calling? Where are you calling from again? Hey, I'm an agent with eXp Realty. I'm calling around the neighborhood, right? I got to try and help my buyers find a home here. It's a beautiful place. I agree with you. I love it. But I want to help them out. Do you own or do you rent your home? Oh, and then go off there. If they say they own a home, then you go into you're talking to a homeowner, guys. Bingo, success, right? You're talking to someone that owns a home in your target neighborhood. And in the nicest way possible, you want to find out, are they thinking of leaving at some point, right? Like for whatever reason. Great, that's awesome, Jesse, that's great. Have you ever considered relocating, right? Have you thought of getting a bigger home, something more comfortable, smaller home perhaps? You don't need such a big home anymore. Are you thinking of relocating? Are you working from home nowadays? Have you thought of maybe working from another place? Maybe investing in real estate, Jesse. So you want to throw out different options and see if any of them resonates. Another thing I tell folks that are doing this, guys, the easiest thing for the person on the other end to do is hang up the phone, okay? That is the easiest thing. So anytime they haven't hung up the phone, I'm always assuming there's something there, guys, right? There's some kind of interest. There's something there. Well, you know, I'm not really sure. Then you want to continue that conversation and kind of see where it goes, where it takes you. What are they saying? What are they thinking about? Why haven't they hung up the phone yet, right? Why am I calling them the perfect time to have a conversation with them right here, right now? And what we call this process is you want to get to the 3 no's. This is what that means, right? Do you own or rent? Do you want to sell a home? No. Okay. Do you own or rent? I own or I rent. Okay, great. Are you thinking of relocating? No. Have you thought of getting an investment property? No. You want to get to that different decision tree. How about this? How about this other question? How about this one more, Jesse? How about this, right? And then when you get to that 3rd no, in my very humble opinion, you've done your job as a professional prospect, right? I'm not going to badger a cold lead with 4th and 5th, 6th questions, right? It's probably not going to be productive. If by the 3rd no, you're not getting some genuine interest, you're starting an interesting conversation, then you're probably not going to go anywhere. You've done your job, right? And I like that. Very simple to understand. The 3 no's. How effective are you at accomplishing the 3 no's, right? And whenever we have an ISA or someone doing these calls and they're not getting the result they expect, it's one of the first things we look at, right? Number 1 is how many calls are they making, how many conversations. Those are the quantitative metrics. Right. But the qualitative is how good are you at getting to that 3rd no, right? Because a poorly executed script is never going to get to the 3rd no. Never going to get there, right? If it's not, and this is where the nuance gets in there, Jesse, because the script is on the piece of paper. It's a collection of words. 50% of that script is your tonality, energy level, and execution of that script. We can both say the same thing, and people get an entirely different impression on the tonality, where we put the emphasis on those words, and what we're saying. And that's totally different than what we intend to say, but it's what the lead hears, right? So that is where it gets interesting. What's your ability to get to the 3rd no? A professional ISA is going to get to the 3rd no no matter what, right? So that's important. And it's important to have that kind of attitude. Again, in a respectful way. You don't want to badger anybody. It's a true cold call, right? You want to start that dialogue, but it's important. Get to the 3rd no. Get to the 3rd no, right? So own or rent a home. We went down the own path, right? You want to find something that fits. Relocation, getting something bigger. You might have a growing family. You don't have any family anymore. Then you need something more comfortable, downsizing, whatever it is. Okay, no. Let's see where that goes. If they rent, this is where you need to make a decision, right? If you're talking to someone that's telling you they're not a homeowner, you got a couple of things I want to decide. Do you even care about the conversation at that point? Because a lot of folks, a buyer in this market can be challenging, right? When we do this with these talks, these chats and these campaigns, I always tell folks, you've got them on the phone, right? You've at least asked the question. This is the next thing you want to answer. Have you ever thought, actually not even have your thought. Well, and I'm guessing you've thought at some point, Jesse, about maybe owning your own home at some point. Have you thought about that at all? And then go down that conversation, that branch of the decision tree. Have you thought of doing something? I know you've thought of it. What's holding you back from owning a home? What's the issue, right? Is it they think they're too expensive? They might not qualify. Their living situation, they need to be renting right now. Is it a long-term or short-term? You can have that conversation with them. Find out, because if it's they're not knowing how much home they can afford, they're not sure they can buy a home in this crazy market, help them out, be a resource to them, right? Let me tell you, I wish I could see, I was in person with the folks in this room. I'd say, how many lenders are in the room that would like to talk to that potential buyer? And they're like, yeah, sure, I would. Like, afford a home. I'll tell them they can buy a home, right? You should always have your lender, your favorite lender in the back of the room say, hey, great, give them to this guy. Great. You want to find out? I got the best lender in the business. I'm going to have to give you a call. When is a good time to set that up? Because I'm going to tell you how much home you can afford and what's your path to home ownership look like? Is it the next few months or the next few years? Some people, it will take years, right? So, hey, we got Sergio out here saying, hey, it's the lender in the room. Thank you, Sergio. But yeah, absolutely, right? You want to partner up and give them those opportunities, because sometimes agents can't work them at that stage, but find a quality lender and they know how to work them at that stage, right? 100%. Really, really important to do that. So have that in your back pocket. Decide if you want to do it. If not, then the conversation ends there. If it's not a homeowner, move on to the next one, right? Really, really important to understand. Okay, next one. Another thing they might say, right? Another thing they might say, really, really important. You know, I don't think that I can be a homeowner. I don't think they don't have confidence. They have no idea what the process is. Even in so we can sometimes not understand this, folks, right? We think that everyone knows what home ownership is like, what it takes. A lot of people have no idea. They have no clue, right? They know because of who we are as a country, the USA, home ownership is like an aspiration. It's a goal, right? But not everyone knows what those steps are. Take that as an opportunity to educate them, right? Take them on that path. And sometimes it isn't even the financial problem. It's them just not knowing what the process is, them looking at the headlines in the news, they get confused. They assume they can't buy a home, they'll never find one, and become the teacher, become the educator in that scenario, because that's what you can do, right? So never assume that people know something about real estate, because we live it and breathe it every single day. Start the dialogue, start the conversation, right? Really, really important. Another set of objections you can get in this stage are some of those identity objections, like who are you, where you're calling from, how'd you get my phone number? Is there actually a really common one for social prospecting? People are like, holy cow, how did you know to call me? I don't want anybody calling me. And a really simple way to handle that objection is just to be honest with people. Say, hey, I got your phone number through RedX or through Mojo, on the web, through a website company, and then go back to purpose, because I'm trying to do right by my buyers. I'm hustling here. And if I interrupt, I apologize. This is an interruption for you. I'm doing my best here to find more properties for sale, because I got buyers that are really struggling in this market, right? I always want to turn the tables on it. I'm just trying to help out my lonely buyers. Help me out here, because honestly, there's a lot of truth in that. We're just trying to get more inventory on the market. Something that kind of is mind-boggling for folks. We're not dealing necessarily with a lack of inventory in this market. 6.1 million homes, at least 6.1 million homes were sold in 2021. 6.1 million, right? That number was only a few years ago, 5 million in a single year, 5 million sites. Now it's 6.1. That's a record that hadn't been reached. The last time we were even close to that was 2006. So there's a lot of homes coming on the market. They're just not lasting very long. Because demand, I think, what was the number I heard thrown around, Jesse? Like, we need like 12 million homes a year to balance out the market. Like, if you want to have a balanced market tomorrow, we need about 12 million. We're not there, right? But definitely there's more people trying to sell their home now than ever before. There's just way more people trying to buy right now, right? For a lot of reasons. So go out there, find people, understand. People will be they might have some empathy for that situation. Tell them the truth. Handle that objection, just being honest with them. Hey, I've got your phone off the internet because I'm trying to find sellers in this market. I'm just doing my job. I'm hustling because I don't know any other way to do it, Mr. Seller, than hustling for my clients. That's the only thing I do every day. Is that fair? Okay, thanks. Then, do you own or rent a home? Go to the next question, guys. Go to the next question. That's important about handling objections, right? You want to acknowledge that objection, right? Recognize it. Don't ignore it, guys. Recognize the objection. You want to use your best objection handler, like the ones I'm talking about today, and always, always, always move to the next question in the script, right? Don't dwell on that objection. Don't like let it simmer, kind of see what they say, shut up and listen. No, like, hey, the objection's been handled. Well, do you own or rent a home? Have you thought about selling? Go back to that same decision tree. Where are they at? Owner or renter? Owner that wants to sell, has never thought about selling, maybe an investor, whatever that situation is, right? Go back to that qualification script. Go back to finding out what you need to find out. Don't dwell on those objections. You don't want to go there. It's not necessary. Move on to the next one. Trust me, guys. If they're not satisfied with that answer or they don't want to continue the conversation, you'll know. This is not like, there's not a lot of nuance here. It's like, it's going to be click on the phone.
They'll just hang up. Yeah.
They're just going to hang up. So don't worry about it, right? I see a lot of folks that were concerned about, getting the nasty gram and people being mean on cold calls. That doesn't really happen in my experience, right? I've only, done this thousands of times. It's rare. It does happen. It's very rare. It's very rare. Very different than calling some of these more upset sellers. That's a little bit different. But when you're doing true cold call, that's not the biggest issue you have to deal with, mean people on the phone. It's just the hangups, people not talking to you. That is the biggest enemy of prospecting and cold calling. It's not difficult phone calls, guys. If any, this circle prospecting process and script is the first script every ISA in my team learns, because it is the easiest one to teach. It is the easiest one to teach. I can get someone rehearsing this script, making calls within 24 hours. They're making circle, because everyone that joins my company, the first month, this is what they're doing. Because it is a great way to identify grit, work ethic, and quite frankly, values, right? Because if you can get through a month of doing this script, you can join my team. Come on in. You will, calling Facebook leads, calling realtor.com 15 times, calling absentee, this is going to be easy, right? Because they're going to pick up faster. There's going to be more conversation, going to have more practice. If you can grind it out with circle prospect, you can do anything. My very humble opinion, right? You can do it any day of the week. Really, really important to understand that. So it's a very simple script to use. The only challenging part of this script is the topic of today, which is the objections. It can get a little bit tricky with that. You have to understand that. Next one. This is a really interesting one, and I want to tie it into the objections I've heard this week on that thread. I'd love to work with you, Jesse. I'm thinking of selling at some point in the next year. I am, but my wife, my husband, my son, my mom, my friend, my neighbor, my coworker happens to be a real estate agent, right? Then what do you do, right? So this is one of those objections that I love. I lovingly call the ones that if you can't answer effectively, you shouldn't have a license, right? Exactly, because everyone knows a real estate agent. There's a couple million of us here, guys. In the US, there's 2 million licensed real estate agents out there. Everyone and their mom knows a real estate agent. Your mom might be a real estate agent if you're on this call, right? So there's a lot. This is very common. You can run into this all the time. Everyone knows someone that's a real estate agent, has some kind of familial tie to someone that's a real estate agent. It's a really common situation. It is 100%, especially when it's that close family. Like they're blood relatives and they share a last name. That can be really challenging. But I tell folks, never shy away from this objection. Never shy away. You should go 100% right after it. We even have our ISAs jump in and handle this objection on these calls, because the number one thing you want to do is, number one, be respectful, of course, right? Number one, be a pro, be respectful. Never talk down about someone you don't even know who they are, right? Never bash the other agent, never bash the situation. And number two, always talk and force a comparison, right? That's all we're trying to do, and how that's in the best interest of the consumer. So the handler for this objection goes something like this. Jesse, I totally understand what you're talking about, right? Your fifth cousin is a real estate agent and you said you want to use them sometime. I understand it. I respect friends and family, Jesse. I totally get that. However, I will tell you this. How about I sit down with you and I show you what I do to sell X number of properties every year, every month, every day, whatever your number is, and what I do to get me 5 stars on this awesome website, and why my clients aren't just clients, Jesse, they're raving fans. How about you give me 10, 15 minutes of your time? I show you what I do to hit it out of the park. And then you decide, Jesse, who do you want representing you? And probably the biggest financial transaction you'll ever do in your life. How about that, right? You think you at least owe yourself that comparison. Best case, Jesse, you work with your fifth cousin, and I even gave you some ideas for them. How about that, right? Perfect. That's great. Let's sit down and talk about that. So that's why it's important to always force that comparison, because a lot of folks say, no, Gus, this deal's dead. He's already had that family member, like a close relative as his agent. Guys, I don't need to tell you this. I'm on LCA every day. Jesse, how many posts have you seen saying, oh my goodness, my family member didn't use me as a real estate agent? I mean,
so many posts.
Single day, guys. Every single day. I'm pretty sure almost every other day, we see agents getting hit with this situation. They knew someone, they're a family member, they're just close sphere, and they didn't use this agent. Well, guess what? Someone get out there, out hustled you, and showed that person why they were a better option than you. I'm only saying, be fair, be a pro, and let the consumer decide. How about that, right? So that is my attitude with that objection. I think you should always try and force that comparison. You should show them what you bring to the table and let them make that decision, because you never know. You just honestly never know if they actually want to use that person, if that person is any good at their job, and if this person knows they're not exactly great at their job. They might actually know that. Why? Because they're family. They know exactly who they are, right? So again, be a resource, be a pro, make that comparison happen, and find a way to show what you bring to the table, and then let them decide. When people compare, when we compete for your business, you win, don't you, Jesse?
Always.
Of course, right? So ask them a question they have to say yes to, right? Absolutely. And great. When's a good time for me to meet with you? Today at 5 or tomorrow at 4? What works best for you, Jesse? You pick whichever one you want, and go from there, right? So that's a great one. I love that, because it's either going to go nowhere, and it wasn't going to go nowhere from the start because it's their wife. Okay, I get it. But if it's not that, right, then you might actually have a chance to go for it. And I always go for it. The worst thing that can happen is say no, and they were going to say no anyway. No harm, no foul. But you will be surprised how often they'll at least give you a shot, right? They will at least give you a shot. Let's see what you bring to the table. And if you got your A game, you have that value proposition set up, then you might actually have a chance to get that buyer to get that listing, right? Especially if it's a listing. Oh my God, gotta go for it, right? 100%. Here's another one. I love this objection, right? Sometimes for the people that have done this kind of calling, you understand another bane of the existence of circle prospecting. Sometimes these lists are out of date. They're not accurate, right? You got phone numbers that at some point the person lived in San Diego, California, but now they're in, Palm Beach, Florida, because I don't know, for whatever reason, right? And, oh, I'm not there. So this is hilarious, but this is what we taught our ISA team to do. And it was really successful for us. Whenever someone gave us that objection, I'm not living in that address anymore. I'm not living in that county anymore. I'm not living in the state anymore. What we do is we keep going with the script. Doesn't matter, right? I mean, worst case, yeah, they might hang up on you and goes nowhere. But we have qualified buyers by calling. This is where I started my company in Washington State. But by calling Washington State, I got buyers and sellers in Hawaii, Wyoming, Manhattan, all over Texas.
Send out a referral.
Now, referrals, guys, referrals, right? And you can find someone in those areas you can trust to run with that referral, then you're going to make some money. So, but this is what I told folks. The fact that they're on the phone with you, they're willing to have a conversation, ask the next question. Well, that's great. I'm glad you're in Hawaii, Jesse. Do you own your rent a home out there? Well, that's great. And then have that conversation, right? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And actually, I want to say something about the objections in general, like a broad sense of these objections. A lot of them are very, it's almost like a reflexive objection. Some of them not really well thought out. You can ignore those. Ignoring those might be fine. I mean, not ignoring those. Answering those and going on to the next question. We ask them. Sometimes you will find some objections that are more substantive. They're rare, guys, right? This is what they say. Learning what I'm talking about today would get you handling about 90% of the objections you're going to get in circle prospecting. Tomorrow, you kind of went in and ran with this. That's 100%, right? This is not that hard to do, but most people don't take that action. But I'm happy to say we got about 25, 30 people live with us today, plus whoever's watching on Facebook Live. But you guys are different. I know you guys are different. You're going to take this, you're going to run with it. And I'm challenging you guys to go out there and execute these objection handlers, because if it does not go the way that you want, I want you to message me. I want you to tell me what was the response, what was the dialogue that got you stuck. Because I promise, if you message me and you reference this talk, I will work with you to solve that objection that kind of stumped you, right? Because I'm very confident in my ability to do that. And I'm also very confident that very few of you are going to run into that situation. These answers handle almost all of the objections you're likely to get in this circle prospecting scenario. I'm very confident in that, right? Very easy to do. So moving on to the next one, because we're almost out of time here. Another objection I added to this list. It's not a circle prospecting objection per se, but it came up a lot during the week in my dialogue with you folks on LCA. It was a really relevant objection to this market. Someone saying, hey, Gus, I can't possibly sell right now because you've seen the market. How am I going to buy right now, right? I cannot be a seller because I don't want to be a buyer. I know it's great being a seller, Gus, but who the hell wants to be a buyer in this market? What are we going to do, right? So that's a great objection, actually. That one is a great example of an objection you have to be prepared for, right? You have to have a script for that objection. You can't just kind of wing your way through it if you don't know what you're talking about, because that's a real situation people find themselves in every single day. The way that I would handle that, I've handled that objection my whole career, but this year seems like even hard. It's harder than when I was doing this in 2013, 2014. It was a seller's market back then too, not a 10-year seller's market that's been accumulating, right? So now it's even harder than it was when I was doing it day to day. But if I were answering that objection today, the thing I would tell them, right, is understand sometimes these objections come from fear, right? A lot of times objections are fear-based. They're fear-based. And sometimes the anxiety and the fear that's behind this isn't always rational, guys, right? In some of these markets, there's like 2 days of inventory, correct. And some of them, it's not 2 days of inventory, right? It's not. Homes are coming on the market every single week. And even in these tightest markets, every single week, homes are coming on. They're not lasting 30 days in the market. I understand that. But there's homes coming up every single week. There's deals being closed every single month and every single MLS. So you want to make sure, because a lot of times these fear-based objections are not rational, guys. Most fear-based objections are not rational. They're driven by anxiety, by reading a lot of these headlines, by the consumer not being educated. Take it as an opportunity to educate them. I still feel that the real estate agent, the main role that we play in this market, the market of today, and the consumer of today is as a consultant, right? We're not an order taker. We're not a searcher for the MLS for them. Those roles don't exist for us anymore. They're not valuable. Consultant, educator, right? That is unbelievably valuable for the consumer right now, because you can educate them on what it takes to get their home sold and to successfully buy a home in this market. And that might mean getting creative with, I've heard people do temporary living situation, right? Hey, if we can give you 3 months to find a home, and during those 3 months, you can get a lease back, you can get that home rented, we can get you one of my Airbnbs, agents have those, you can move into those, you can get creative with the living situation. You can get creative with the financial situation, financing. Mortgage brokers will give you cash, not all of them, but a lot of them, find one that does, that will give you cash for a cash offer on the purchase of your property if you work with them. There are startups that do this. Homeward.com, a company that helps your buyers get cash for their cash offer. If you have a motivated buyer, if your home is sold and you're going to need a new home, you're a motivated buyer. If you have cash to work with, your likelihood of getting a home just went up by 50%, by 100%, right? You're going to give them the tools that they need to get a property. Homeward also loves working with agents. So I love that. Some of these companies are more consumer facing. Some of them are agent facing. So they want to partner with agents. Work with a company that respects and loves real estate agents, because that's what we do, right? So talk to them, give them solutions, give your client options, right? Don't be doom and gloom. Don't say, oh, you're right, we'll never find out. Oh, it's really, really hard, but maybe we'll get lucky. That doesn't work. Have a plan. Give them options. You're the professional in the room. Tell them what it takes to put their best foot forward and get a home bought in this market, and why you are the best person to navigate that process. Well, Jesse, the last 3 deals I put under contract last month, we did this. They followed my advice and we got the property. Yes, it's a multiple offer situation, but I love winning those. Let's go for it, right? you are the person who's going to get them to the finish line. And you want those options there, whether it's renting their old home, renting Airbnb, getting cash for that cash offer, whatever it takes for them, tell them how you're going to make it happen so they don't have a home sold contingency on that offer. It's really tough to get those accepted right now, but you give them alternatives to get that home bought and to make sure they're confident in selling that home. So that is a great one. That one takes some effort. That one's a tough objection, much tougher than you're going to get in circle prospecting, but you can get it any day of the week. The last objection I want to touch on, Jesse, another one, the last one of the three that I said are the ones you shouldn't get a license if you can't answer. Is it a good time to buy or sell right now, right? Jesse, is it a good time to buy a home right now? Jesse, is it a good time to sell a home right now, right? Folks, if you can't answer that question confidently, I don't know what you're doing, right? This is not the business for you, right? So I think it's really, really important to understand that question, because that might also be coming from a place of fear. It might also be coming from that, like, oh my goodness, like the market's insane, and I don't want to be homeless. Just guys, it just doesn't happen, guys. Being left without a home out on the street, that's just not a real situation. That's not ever going to happen to anyone, right? And that literally can be holding someone back from putting their home on the market. They know where they want to live. They know the school district that they want. They know the property that they want, but they're like, there might be some uncertainty in my life, Jesse. I can't deal with that. So you're there to lay it out to them, educate them, and tell them what the situation is, right? To understand that it's not doom and gloom out there. You are a pro and you will guide them. If someone asks you, is it a good time to buy or sell real estate? You need, my opinion, the way I answer this question, I never try to get into predicting the market, guys. I am not in that business. I lived through 2008 and 2009. So my crystal ball is out of commission after that.
You retired it.
Exactly. I retired the crystal ball, right? Not there. And then especially after 2008, I've been predicting a correction for the last 5 years. It hasn't happened yet, right? So it'll happen someday. When? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows, right? There's a lot of people that are much smarter than me. They're saying they don't know. So what do you expect me to say? I don't know. But I always ask folks, are you looking for a home to be your number one asset, to be a home you're going to live in, or are you looking to flip it in the next month, right? I asked them that question. Are you looking to flip this over and make a profit and rehab it and sell it? Well, no, I'm not. Well, then don't think of it that way, right? Don't think of what the market's going to do in the very short term, because that is unpredictable, guys. If I would have asked you 10 years ago, are we going to be in a seller's market a decade from now? 99.9% of people would have said, no, that's never happened before. Well, guess where we are, guys? We're in uncharted territory at this point, right? So I do not get in that business. I ask them, are you in it for the long haul? Because if you own a home in this country for 5 to 7 years, you're going to do pretty well. And I tell them my story. I bought a home in March of 2008, probably the absolute worst time to buy a property in this country, right? For the last 50 years, right? So I told that story. And I told them I would see I would always go online and try to see what my home value was. And I would laugh. I go, wow, this is terrible. This is not great, right? But you know what? I told them that never depressed me. It never made me sad because I absolutely loved my home. It was a brand new build in Bothell, Washington. Great city, great avenue, great suburb of Seattle. I absolutely adored that property. I had a great view, love it, right? And guess what? I enjoyed it. I used it. It was my home. Within about almost up to the dot, that 5 to 7 year time frame, I was positive equity. I ended up selling that property, $200,000 in my pocket a few years later, right? So that was my story. So I would tell them, I was so confident telling them that as long as you're not looking to flip this the next month, you should be confident in buying a home in this market, in this country. Okay? Okay, great. Then it is a great time to buy a home, sell a home, right? And then it becomes about them. Jesse, what's driving you to buy or sell a home, right? Because this question is personal. Is it a good time for you, Jesse? Why do you want a property? And let's start talking about that, right? Take out the market statistics, take out the market dynamics. I don't predict the future. You shouldn't either. Talk about what really matters to them, which is their living situation, right? That's it, guys. No one goes out, looks at the Dow Jones and says, today's a great day to buy a home, isn't it? It's not the way the world works. That's just not the way it works. So understand that, and you should be able to handle that objection very effectively.
This is incredible. Seriously, Gus, I hope people were taking notes fast and furiously. I just want it for anyone watching on Facebook or YouTube, because they can't see the Zoom chat box. It's dropped in there a few times. Jake, if you want to drop it in one more time, PowerISA, if you've learned things today, right? You're like, I love this. I'm going to go out, I'm going to do some circle dialing. But if you're like, look, I want to have someone do this with me or train my ISAs, right? PowerISA does have some specials running, sponsored, right, in partnership with LCA. So click on the link in the chat box, or we'll have it in the notes on YouTube and on Facebook. Like, truly, Gus, you have so much experience when it comes to training ISAs. Like, this is gold, man. So good.
Yeah, I love it. And it's one of those things, Jesse, that you get better the more you do it. It's one of those things, like, you get smarter, you get better at it. And, some folks are at the point of their business where they want to add some leverage. If you're at the point where you want someone helping with those calls, make more of those calls, and then trying to prospect your database, call those old leads, call everyone you haven't called in the last year, then you can add an ISA to your team. That makes a lot of sense. You can leverage that time and dedicate yourself to follow up only with the hottest leads, attend those appointments and close those deals. That's a great place to be in your business.
So good. Your energy and your passion for this really is just awesome, Gus. It's so good. Read through the chat box. By the way, get some compliments in there. We've got a fan watching from Portugal right now who's loving what you're throwing out as well. So
I know. Hey, Sergio, man, love you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words.
Yeah. If anyone else has questions, or if you want to take Gus up on this challenge, make these calls. If you run into an objection, it doesn't work, please reach out to him. He really will help walk you through this. That's the cool thing about, I love how helpful you are.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, that's an honest offer. If you're you're using these objection handlers, you're ran into an issue, let me know what it was. We'll work on it together.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you for being here. Truly, from LCA and Gus from PowerISA. Appreciate all of you guys being here, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.